because a lot of people say there's no such thing as dressing like a hoe or dressing like this. That's cap. Even the Bible talk about the like a woman dressing like a slut, or I think the Bible called it a harlot. The woman was dressed like a harlot or whatever. Cosmo magazine says few men want a wide-eyed version that has no clue what she doing. Look at what the last magazine said. Look at what this magazine said. They suggested to a young sister if she don't go have sex, it's a chance she'll be alone. When it's the complete opposite. But the young sister don't know it's the complete opposite. If you can identify, and I continue to prove it more and more on the podcast as we make more videos, but if you can identify that the society, and the government don't respect family life and don't respect the women, and you follow the common things that the society and government pushes out, you follow along with them, you are in turn not respecting women and not respecting family life. All right, y'all, welcome back to another episode of the Don't Be a Viking podcast. Today, we're going to talk about why dressing modestly is important. Now, from the male side, I'm going to speak on me personally, and I know other brothers can relate to this. If you impose on your girl to dress more modestly, or you just talking to any relative, any female person to dress more modestly, people will hit you with oh, you must be insecure or you controlling. And previously on the podcast, I talked about how being controlling is not a bad thing. To have control over something is to have great influence over something. I will hope I have great influence over my own girl. But people will start throwing all these bad words with bad connotation on you because you want your girl to dress more proper. And from a female side of it, you probably hear these same things. So even if you think about dressing more modest, you probably think, oh, I don't want people to think this. I don't want people to think that. Like, to a certain extent, a lot of us want to just please the people around us, not in a, oh, you doing too much type of way, but just to still have our same social circle or whatever. We don't want to be too far outside the box. So this episode, we're going to go over why it's not only smart to dress modestly, but it come with a lot of pros, and dressing immodestly come with a lot of cons. So let's go straight into it. So the first thing, and I spoke on this before, MRI brain studies at Princeton showed that men looking at women wearing bikinis had the part of their brain associated with tool usage a little. Now, let's think on what we use the tool for. If I think I'm gonna need a hammer for this job, or I'm gonna need a screwdriver for this job, tools got specific uses, and after you use them for this specific thing, they're useless. So if dudes look at girls based off what they wearing with that part of their brain lit up, that's how you get in the mindset of using women, mistreating women. So the other studies gonna show this in further depth, but if the change of your clothing changes what part of the brain lights up on the male, that's pretty important. Now, you can look this study up yourself to make sure I ain't sugarcoating it or whatever on nationalgeographic.com. Now, another one, it's an author named Jenna McCarthy. She did an experiment called Become the Slut for a Day. She was wearing a short leather skirt and an off-the-shoulder t-shirt. She documented how she was the victim of sexual remarks and men blatantly staring at her breast, and went as far as like leaning over to look up her skirt. She wrote that she basically got sure thing ran over her forehead, and the men that seen her couldn't tell if she just came out the house to get sexual attention, she just want to find a man to have sex with, or did she come out the house to genuinely enjoy herself for the day? Now, that study confirmed the previous study on how your wardrobe changes, how you get treated changes, how men view you. Like, she called this experiment being a slut for a day. So, from her point of view as a woman, she identified wearing these type of clothes as slut clothes. Because a lot of people say there's no such thing as dressing like a hoe or dressing like this. That's cap. Even the Bible talk about the like a woman dressing like a slut, or I think the Bible called it a harlot. The woman was dressed like a harlot or whatever. So if you want to change the way you get approached this is one of the factors. Like, if you feel like men come on to you too strongly or whatever, or too sexual, not all the times, but quite a bit of the times, the woman probably was wearing something that suggested in the dude's head, oh, that's an easy target. Like this young lady said, she basically had sure thing running across her forehead. So between the first and the second thing we just talked about, we can see clearly how the way you dress can dictate the way men not only view you but interact with you. This something else I had gained from the same book I got the previous study from. If you try to value women physically, they're inferior. If you try to value them only off attractiveness, it's easy to begin to treat them like sexual objects, like the first study. The greatest advantage that women have is to work on and gain acknowledgement for the power that they have within through their mentality, catering to you emotionally, and how they can help you rise as a partner. So let's break this down. It's only two sides to people, the inside and the outside. Other people describe it as like the spiritual, the physical, however you want to put it. So if it's only two sides of us, and focusing on the outside makes us mistreat women, or focuses on the outside make us sexualize or objectify, or whatever word you want to throw out there, women, then it will be smart as the woman, if you thinking, or if you can point out multiple ways that men only focusing on your exterior leads to your mistreatment, it will be smart if you say, well, if them focusing on my exterior leads to them mistreating me, and I know I have a lot of qualities to offer in my interior, how kind I am, how caring I am, etc., then it will make sense to force them to focus on the inside. How would you force them to focus on the inside? By shutting off the outside. If you give them access to two options, they'll go with the easier option. So in a dude mind, which one is easier on their part requires less work on the dude part. To just get sex from a girl and nothing else. Cool, that's easy. We can do that all day. The harder thing is, okay, actually catering to her emotionally, trying to dissect who this person is, like really getting a grasp on their mindset, how they process everything, etc. That's the harder thing to do. It's also the most valuable thing to do. So if you want them to focus on that, cut off access to the exterior. Cover yourself. Don't give yourself out sexually, etc. But in this podcast alone, we're not talking about the sexual side of it, like actually going to physically have sex with somebody. We'll talk about that on another podcast. But we are talking about limiting the access that they even see. Because, like we said from the first and second study, we see how important the visual is on the dude's part. So, if you want them to focus on the interior, that's where you, as a woman, gain the most strength from. How about cover the exterior? And then it'll force them to focus on the interior. I just think it makes sense. So if somebody throw the words out, oh, you controlling, da, 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 I don't got a problem with somebody saying I'm controlling. I don't got a problem with somebody saying I'm insecure. I really don't care. Like, you not in the relationship, this is between A and B or whatever. But if somebody was to say I'm insecure, okay, we can look into that. If insecure mean not confident, and I'm telling my girl stuff that's uncomfortable for her to do. Like most African American women that's born or here, like they not from somewhere else, from another culture, then come over here to America. Most women is born here in the West, not used to covering up. They never did it. Their family didn't do it, whatever. All right, cool. So if you tell your woman to cover up, or you suggested to her to cover up, and somebody call you insecure, let's think about this. If to be insecure means to not be confident, and you telling her to do something that's uncomfortable for her, that's you having more confidence than the other dude who just let his girl do anything. Because by telling her something that's uncomfortable, you could be putting her in a position where she like, do I want to stay in this relationship? You feel me? So to have that as a risk and still tell her to do the uncomfortable thing is you being confident. and you saying, well, even though it's a chance she might leave over X, Y, and Z, I'ma still stand on what I need to stand on. That's a confident person. An unconfident person will say, I want her to stand on this, or I want her to stand on that, but I'm scared she'll leave, so I just won't say nothing. That's the unconfident person. So when people throw these words out, they don't even think about the real meaning behind it. Like the other podcast, I had a girl call me misogynistic. She didn't even know what misogynistic meant. So people just throw out words that they just comfortable with using, or they just heard a lot of other people use and say, I like that word. I'm just throw it out when I see best fit. Still be wrong. To dress immodest is to have a weaker nation. Different studies show that teenagers engaged in sexting ranges from 20% to 60%. I got that based off different studies. Some studies was focusing on the lower end of it. Certain studies was focusing on the higher end of it. So I know there's a big ass gap. Excuse me, 20 to 60%. But I just put it in there so it won't feel like I'm being biased in my research. So the teenagers themselves believe that around 90% of their peers are sexting. Now, you know, just like I know, other people, like older people, if you a kid, your mama, daddy, aunties, uncles might know a little bit about what's going on in the younger circles, but nobody know what's going on in the younger circles like the people in the circle. Now, another interesting thing about this study is I read somewhere else where it was a young lady, she was a virgin, but since so much peer pressure was on her, like all her friends are talking about their sex life and they shunning other girls who virgins, and the dudes doing the same thing, they shunning other dudes, and they also shunning girls who not sexual. And these young folks, I think they was like in ninth grade, something like that, maybe 10th at the most. The girl was a virgin, but since she peeped how everybody treated virgins versus how everybody treated these sexually experienced people, she was like, I might as well say I'm a virgin. I mean, I might as well say I'm sexually experienced. So that come to mind when reading this study too, because what if the actual study's right? Let's say it's 20, 60%. Let's say 40% of teens are sexting. If the teenagers themselves say that 90% of the teens are sexting, the teenagers might be right. Maybe it is 90%. It's more than the studies that the adults like put together. Or it could be like this situation I just said. Maybe only 40% are doing it for real, but so many other people are afraid to say, no, I'm not sexually active, because they feel like they might get like the eyeball out treatment or whatever. You feel me? So that's another reason, we're going to get into this later, why it's important to dress modestly or set that different example. Because if everybody already dressing like sluts and nobody is dressing modest for the young women to look up to, even if the young woman not comfortable with showing her body, and another study showed that too, what we finna get into, if she not comfortable showing her body, she still gonna end up doing it because she like, well, I don't want to be the only one dressing like this. I seen what happened to other folks who was the only person doing something, but they probably got bullied or whatever. And if you the type of person to say, well, I don't care about getting bullied, everybody not as mentally tough as that. So when we have such an over sexualized society where we feel free to show ourselves to everyone, our children follow that. How can the kids supposed to be sexually disciplined if you, the adult, are not? And these are teenagers that were 16. Where did they get this from? Like I said, if they see all the adults being super sexual with everything they do, whether it's public pictures on Instagram, whether it's movies, whether it's rappers, anybody, if everybody being so sexual, the teenagers, the younger children are gonna look at it like, well, shit, this just come with getting older. So the teenagers was like, okay, I know I'm finna be grown in a couple of years. I might as well be sexual. They attach sexual with grown. Like, I be hearing young women say, uh, yeah, I can wear whatever I want. I'm grown. If you want to look at it like that. But we shouldn't attach dressing like a slut, wearing less clothing with being grown. We should attach maturity with being grown. And we can look at it and say, wearing less clothing is not the mature thing to do. Now, through being humiliated, belittled, and made to feel abnormal, young women submit to dressing immodestly, what we just talked about. So another reason it's important to dress modestly is to give the young sister, who not comfortable showing her body a feeling of belonging and being someone she can see herself in. In a book called Exotic Wars, a 15-year-old told the author, I haven't found someone I feel comfortable with, so I haven't had sex yet. That's the young girl I was just speaking of. But only my best friend knows the truth. Everyone else thinks I'm sexually active because as long as you say what they want to hear, nobody bothers you. I ain't even gonna go deeper into it. That's exactly what we just talked about. When people begin to tolerate anything, the society becomes less civilized. So we have to see if anything/everything is tolerated with wardrobe. Now, people can say, oh, I don't think people should wear this. I don't think people should wear that. What do you do about it? For example, if your favorite cousin dresses like a slut and you are against dressing like a slut, but you still hang with your favorite cousin every day, support your favorite cousin every day. If we don't have actions, rules, repercussions behind the things we against, then we not against it. If you just verbally say I'm against it, but still ride with it, that's not strong enough to build a society, to build a nation on top of. Now, I'm not saying you have to do X, Y, Z. That's not my place. I can't tell you what to do, what not to do. But I do say we need some type of repercussions behind the things we say we're against. Because if there's no consequence behind it, bro, we not against it. We just paying lip service. Now, this the one I hear so much, bro. Folks say, oh, I dress the way I dress because I'm just proud of how my body look, or it just helped boost my self-esteem, or whatever, bro. To say I get my self-esteem boost off of how I look is not a wise thing to do, but we'll read it first. Feeling secure about how your body look is a part of self-esteem, but it can never be a long-lasting source because no matter how hard we fight it, our bodies decline over time. If we are teaching our young women that self-esteem is derived from embracing our looks instead of teaching them to derive self-esteem from building their inner self that displays their uniqueness, we are doing them a disservice. Let's just focus on one part of it. Your body declined over time, no matter what. Now, some people, if you take care of your body, it takes longer for your body to decline. You might look good in your teenage years, in your 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s. Or I see some older women looking good in their 60s, whatever. Like, cool. Like, you keep your body up, you deserve to look good for as long as you can. But eventually, your body decline. Like, that's just how it is. So, especially for majority people, what I just named was rare instances, or not even rare, but it's rare because most people don't work out consistently. But among the people that work out consistently, that's not even rare. Cool, like kudos. But for the majority of people, that's a rare outcome. Your body will decline way earlier than that. So if you get your self-esteem based off how your exterior presence look, when your body start declining, you gonna lose self-esteem. You gonna lose self-confidence. Think about how stupid that is. Now, if you say, well, when my body start declining, then I start deriving self-esteem off those inequalities you're talking about. Well, if that's the end goal anyway, why not go ahead and start working on it, practicing it now, so you can have it down packed by the time your physical decline come. Now, on this part, I got don't follow the common things. We live in a country that has little to no respect for women or for family. Now, if you can identify, and I continue to prove it more and more on the podcast as we make more videos, but if you can identify that the society excuse me, and the government don't respect family life and don't respect women, and you follow the common things that the society and government pushes out, you follow along with them, you are in turn not respecting women and not respecting family life. Let's look at the government. So the value of women's bodies have been decreasing so much that I don't, I don't even want to say the word, but I got to figure out a way to say it for the people who don't look at the video and they just listen to or whatever. Smoking vapes, but replace the V with an R. That's all I'm saying. If you don't get it, if I ain't explained it good enough, oh well. That is penalized less and less. In 1925, 18 out of 50 states agreed with the death penalty for it. Now, let's stop there. If America was gaining value for our women, that number will go up. Instead of 18 out of 50, we'll see an increase. Let's look at it. 17 out of 50 agreed in 1963. In 1977, it was deemed unconstitutional. A House bill of September 1997 gave every federal clinic in the country permission to distribute condoms and birth control to children as young as 13 without parental notification or consent. Currently, 23 states allow this. Somewhere else, another study showed they was teaching kids, like it was like early kids. It was, I want to say elementary school. If not elementary school, it was early middle school, but I think it was elementary. They thought if we teach kids about sexual education early enough, before they get, like way before they get sexually active, it would implant it in their head, and we would see the numbers of kids having kids or STDs or whatever go down. Nothing changed at all. So all they did was expose these kids to this information too soon. So that's a conversation for another day. I'm not even gonna talk about how just telling somebody something or just educating them on something not enough. But not only that, when they gave this information to these children are too immature to really like handle this information properly. So it led with a lot of the like young boys like bullying the young girls on the like stuff they learned. And, like they learned about sex, they learned about young women's bodies. So they do talking about what they learned when they interact with these young ladies. So to give young men and young women condoms for sex without parental notification will only lead to bad things. Like at least the school, and the school didn't even work. Remember that. At least the school was trying to give them thorough knowledge on this whole thing. To not get them no knowledge and just pass them a condom is stupid. And currently 23 states allow this. Now, let's get into shaming language. Nah, I'm saying it. I ain't even gonna say that. Harper's Bazaar. I think they say Bazaar, but I don't really care what the name is. It's a magazine company. Had two young women write in about how they were offended by the company's August cover, which featured a woman with a see-through blouse on and no bra. The company responded saying the barely revealed breast wasn't meant to offend. It was meant to celebrate the beauty of the female form. End quote. They believe women should feel comfortable with their bodies. We sincerely hope that all our readers will take a good, long, unembarrassed look. End quote. Boy, this the equivalent to this response is saying, there is nothing wrong with what I did. It's something wrong with you. Or there's like saying, nah, I didn't hit you. You ran into my fist. They said it wasn't intended to make nobody uncomfortable. I hope you can take a long, unembarrassed look. Like the women who don't like it or the women who disgusted by it, they the problem. You shouldn't be embarrassed by it. We should be able to show whatever type of nudity pictures that we want to show. Is basically what the response say. And to say that we was trying to celebrate the female form and we happy about the female form or whatever, and this why we did this, that's to indirectly say, if you don't do this, you not happy or you not praising or whatever the female form. So just because I don't support women being publicly nude, or a young lady don't want to be publicly nude, or she don't want to see another young lady publicly nude, we all of a sudden don't feel comfortable with the female form, or we don't celebrate the female form, or we are not in support of females. That's stupid. Like, if anything, the person who put the young woman on the cover for not sexual gain, but for financial gain and exposing her body to the world, that's the person that don't respect the female form or don't value the female form. Now, they suggested that a young woman who is not in support of seeing another young woman publicly dressed almost nude doesn't agree with celebrating female form, what we just said, and don't believe women should feel comfortable with their bodies. And they are hinting at the young women that has embarrassment, which isn't a negative thing necessarily, from seeing or participating in activities or the outcasts. But in reality, that emotion is coming from a natural place within them, instinctively alerting them that they should be participating in such vulgar behavior. So, how can I think of it? If you just feel embarrassment for X, Y, and Z, especially as a younger person, as a kid, is 9 times out of 10, your inner voice, your conscience telling you, something off here. You probably don't got the knowledge or the words to put it together and say, this is exactly wrong, this is why. But some just telling you, it's off. So you might get butterflies, you might get embarrassed, you might get this, you might get that. So the magazine company is basically trying to say the girl's wrong for getting embarrassed, or they wrong for not want to see this. Gee, imagine the two young women, and I hope that their name was anonymous, like typing it in, or when the company responded. But imagine the two young women. They probably already feel like the world is over sexualized, and they still being bold, being courageous, on still not supporting it, obviously, since they wrote that to the company. But imagine this a company you obviously a fan of, if you not only got the magazine, but you like wrote in to tell them how you feel about it. Obviously you're a fan. And then the company you're a fan of say basically, we doing something positive by being sexual in this way. Something wrong with you. Come on, guys. That's why we gotta do better. Other people gotta do better, because it's always gonna be people like that. So since it's people like that, we also need the opposite side of it. We also need the side for the people that are fighting for the young women like that. A checklist from Westchester Coalition of Family Violence includes acting in an overprotective manner as evidence that you may be being abused. More stupid shit. Now, if I be overprotective over my girl, and somebody, or my sister, my mama, whatever, and somebody say, oh, he too overprotective, you might be being abused or you might be being mistreated. So what you want me to not be protective at all and let something happen to them? That's stupid, bro. Like, this is why we can't listen to everybody when everybody talk. Cosmo magazine says, few men want a wide-eyed version that has no clue what she doing. Look at what the last magazine said. Look at what this magazine said. They suggested to a young sister, if she don't go have sex, it's a chance she'll be alone. When it's the complete opposite. But the young sister don't know it's the complete opposite. She probably didn't have a lot of exposure as far as like dating, understanding what men want and what men value out of her or whatever. Or at least probably not those conversations with the right man. So she probably don't know, like, yeah, sister, if you keep your legs closed, you stay a virgin, that makes you even more valuable to your potential husband. But the magazine that she a fan of or whatever it suggested to her, go have sex. So not want to be alone, because nobody want to be alone. So not want to be alone, it probably click in her head, oh well, this boy is attractive. I want ready to have sex, but you feel me? Like, that's why a lot of this stuff we gotta point out to identify. Look, guys, it's some popular folks, it's some famous folks, it's some rich folks, and just because they all these things, like this a popping magazine. Just because it's popping don't mean we should take it in to let it guide our life. Because obviously they say stupid stuff. Now, I know a lot of our brothers and sisters like take the Bible by heart, and that's cool. So if we take the book by heart, we need to understand a deeper context of what's in the book, or at least read certain verses that might not be as popular as others to understand that the books say these same things. So if I tell my girl to be like dress more modest, and somebody tell me I'm doing something wrong by doing this, you will in turn be disagreeing with the Bible. Let's see how. Folks disagree with the Bible anyway, so by me telling them that, they probably don't even care. Like, the Bible say don't do a lot of things, and they still do everything, but that's a conversation for another day. Proverbs 11:22. As a ring of gold at as a ring of gold at a swine's snout, so is a beautiful woman who lacks discretion. What is discretion? The ability or power to discern what is responsible or socially appropriate. That's important. You dressing out in public with your cheeks hanging down and a shirt where you can see your nipples is not socially appropriate. It's not responsible. That's not discretion. But let's move on. Meaning, the gold is the woman, the valuable thing. The pig signifies a lack of discretion. Pigs eat anything that just terrible, poisonous, the nastiest animal. A woman is such a divine and beautiful creation, but the way you carry yourself could be attaching something poisonous, like swine, to your beautiful being. So the something poisonous, think about the first and second things we started this video with. Something poisonous, something harmful would be dressing like a harlot, as the Bible says. So if you naturally, as a woman, is a divine being, but you keep attaching these poisonous things to you, you become less valuable. To add gold accessories to a pig is not the most beneficial way to use it, which is wasting it. That's important. If you're not using it in the way that it can be valuable, it becomes a waste. So a lot of our women and men are waste. Are they a waste by nature? Nah. By nature they divine. But by circumstance, by what they doing, by their present actions, they a waste. And I really don't want to use the word waste, because I don't want to put harsh language on our brothers and sisters. But if you doing nothing, you better off not existing. It's just that simple. 1 Corinthians 8:9. Your actions shouldn't be a stumbling block to the weak. This was cold. The context of this verse is, even if there are people with less knowledge or strength, a wise person must account for that and act in a manner that will not tempt the other individuals to sin. Through what you did, the weaker person was brought to destruction. There's 1 Corinthians 8:10-11. Since you went against your brother in this way, you sinned. Even if I'm doing something that isn't sinful, that's important. I don't need to do it if it will cause somebody else to sin. This goes hand in hand with Matthew 22:39. Love yourself, or love your neighbor like you love yourself. So I heard a lot of women say something like, I should be able to wear whatever I want because the men should have more discipline than to be so horny or such, or such hornballs over like what I wear or whatever. They grown men, I'm a grown woman, which I'll be betrayed. I done heard it all. So let's look deeper into this verse and use that same example. So they saying the dudes are too mentally weak. I should be able to still do this, that, and the third, and they should get mentally stronger. I don't agree with it. Men, women, children, elderly, everybody should become more mentally disciplined. I agree with it. That we should become more intelligent, everything. But obviously, that's not the case right now. So, if we know that's not the case, and the sisters will admit that's not the case, why would you still come out the house wearing X, Y, and Z? If you know for sure that men not sexually disciplined, why you gonna keep doing the same thing that provoke them to fall into their lower nature? Should the men work on not like letting that temptation drag them in their lower nature? Yes. They not there yet though, and you know they not there. So if this telling you your action should be a stumbling block to the weak, that means you should do what you need to do to not even cause them to fall into their lower nature. So if you word it around a brother or whatever, or a brother saying that will like get him to think like, all right, cool, I know I got a lady at home, but damn, this really tempted me, like, and that'll drive him to cheat. Is the brother wrong? Yes. Are you wrong as well for being a stumbling block to that brother? Yes, you still wrong, cuz so you can't just put the fault on him and say, oh, he a dirty dog, whatever. Your ass dirty too. Cause why was you even in a position to tempt him like that? That's just wrong, cause you don't build a strong society like that. Alright, this the last one. Keeping that in mind, let's look at Matthew 5:27 through 28. I say unto you that everyone that looked on a woman, I say to you that everyone that looks on a woman to lust after her has already committed adultery with her in his heart. So, if you just see a woman, let's use the last example we just used. If you just see a woman, and even if you don't approach her, but you get to thinking like, damn, I really try to do this, I really try to do that, da 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 da. That's not good moral practice. So that brother is already falling short of the what's the word? Guideline, rubric, whatever we want to say the word is. That brother already falling short. So all of us do that to a certain extent. Like we not finna play crazy. Like I was at the gym with my girl the other day, and I'm like, damn, like she thick. So all of us do that, cause like that's not like the end of the world, say y'all be all. But that's not the best practice to have because enough of them, especially like we know all our relationships ain't perfect. So especially if everything going wrong at the crib and y'all going through a period of like a lot of trial and tribulation, and then those kind of thoughts pop up on your brain, that only gonna lead to some worse. So if you look at a woman with lust in your eyes for her, and that's you falling short of where you need to be in your elevation. Going off the previous verse, she is also saying it with you because she caused you to be a stumbling block, or she was a stumbling block in your ascension, in your elevation. Now, let's say if a sister already doing everything she can, and the brother just overly infatuated with her, and he like cousin try to pursue her X, Y, and Z, but the sister not doing it to provoke it. Cool. Her hair's clean. That's fine. But when the sister is doing something to provoke it, your ass equally wrong. So in this video, I hope we explained at least good enough. If like I look back on it and I missed some stuff, or I need to elaborate on some stuff even more, I will. But at least I hope I at least scratch the surface of get people to look and dressing modestly in a different way, and how it's beneficial, and how dressing immodestly is negative, not only to the individual, but to society as a whole. Like I said, we can't build a strong nation, a strong society, a strong family as a whole, not just with our immediate family, but with all of our brothers and sisters. We can't build a strong family with dressing immodestly because it's going to lead to problems that dressing modestly could prevent. So, with that being said, I hope y'all enjoyed this episode of the Don't Be a Viking podcast. If folks try to tell you that you insecure or whatever for telling your girl to dress modestly, tell them shut the hell up, go read a book, get some knowledge on it before they keep talking to you. I appreciate y'all for joining me. Join me on the next episode of the Don't Be a Viking podcast. Yes, Risky.